Now, I know a lot of people think the biggest divide in America right now is immigration. I don't think so. I think the biggest divide in America is whether you still believe rules apply to people you agree with. Because when somebody you don't like gets arrested, everybody suddenly becomes a law and order expert. But let somebody on your own team get charged. Now, the rules are unfair. Now, the process is corrupt. Every consequence is political. And these clips we're about to watch are basically 6 different versions of that exact same argument. So let's get into it.
If you're an ICE agent, you need to die. If you support ICE agents, you need to die. If you support the president, you need to die. 100%, and I mean this. I don't give a fuck who you are. My own brother supports ICE and the Trump administration. I don't fucking care for his life anymore. Because he's a fucking country traitor. If you support ICE and you support this president, you're the traitor. You are against American values. You stand for the original America when we murdered all the natives, stole their fucking land, and then enslaved people. You want to travel back in your fucking time machine and brutalize people so you can call yourself king. The America I grew up on and was promised is not that. You're not a fucking patriot. You're a pussy piece of shit.
Oh, wow. Look, forget politics for a second. And the fact that this is like, I'm going to keep it like this. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. You watching it crazy. Forget politics for a second, right? Did y'all catch what she actually said? Not I disagree, not I oppose ICE, not I think immigration policy should change. No. She jumped straight to people needing to die. Even our own brother. And I think that's the part people miss. The internet has convinced a lot of folks that disagreement is harm. So now every disagreement feels like self-defense. That's how you end up saying things out loud that would have gotten you escorted out of a family cookout 10 years ago. Now, when your political position becomes your entire personality, eventually everybody who disagrees starts looking like an enemy instead of a neighbor. Now we're starting to make sense. Let me go ahead and fix this. And that's the dangerous place for society to sit. So we're just going to roll this next clip.
So much. Can you start with New York? I know you said you were going to surge ICE agents there. Can you tell us when we can expect that to happen?
No.
What can we expect to happen?
You can expect more ICE agents to go to New York because Governor Hochul signed legislation that ended our 287G agreements, where one agent can arrest one bad guy turned over by a jail. Now we got to send a whole team to look for that guy. So she took the efficiencies of the jails away in the 287G agreement. So it's math. One agent can arrest one bad guy in the safety and security of the jail, which is safer for the alien, safer for the agent, and safer for the community. But she decided to kill all that. So now we got to send more agents to do the job that would have took one person.
For you, are you confident that Congress is going to pass that immigration funding?
Yes.
Now, this is about a week ago, actually. Now, well, notice, I just want you to notice the difference, right? One side is talking about people needing to die. You got my guy. The other side is talking about procedures, cooperation, arrest, and public safety. You can disagree with his conclusions all you want to, bucko. It's fair, even though I'll be like, eh. But at least he's talking about outcomes. What worries me is how people today skip straight past the discussion and head directly to the outrage. No facts, no debate, just emotional bankruptcy with Wi-Fi. And the longer that becomes normal, the harder it becomes to solve anything. Now, let's see what happens when emotions leave the internet and shows up in real life.
We'll never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
Wow. See, this is where things get expensive, not financially, but socially, institutionally, culturally. Because eventually, somebody has to decide whether laws exist when crowds don't like them. And that's never a fun discussion, is it? People always imagine themselves as the protester. Nobody imagines themselves as the person responsible for keeping order when hundreds of angry people decide the rules don't apply today. And once a crowd starts testing where that line is, somebody eventually is forced to show where the line actually was. Now let's get past the part most people haven't been paying attention to.
ICE activists are facing new charges in Minnesota. The suspects reportedly have links to Antifa and were aiming to violently oppose federal immigration enforcement. So there are consequences for that, and Garrett Tenney has more. Hi, Garrett.
Yeah, Dana, prosecutors say those 15 individuals are associated with several Antifa-aligned groups that wanted to see a more violent and militant resistance to ICE in the Twin Cities. The Justice Department says these groups and individuals helped supply, train, and organize members for demonstrations like this one back in January, where a few dozen people were armed with shields and used barricades to block off the entrances to the Whipple Federal Building. In one Facebook post, one of the defendants, Cameron Kennedy, blasted those calling for and insisting on peaceful protests, saying, "I want to make this as clear as I can. You will never win with nonviolence alone. Ever. No one has, no one will. You absolutely need militants to win." But as he was leaving court yesterday, Kennedy insisted he didn't do anything wrong, that he was just trying to stand up for his neighbors, and that these charges are politically motivated.
They arrested us because they're trying to find a larger movement. They're trying to hit the rest of Minneapolis. And I think we are just the tip of the iceberg with this. They are definitely trying to come after people more for political reprisal.
All 15 individuals are charged with conspiring to impede or injure a federal officer, and only 2 are accused of actually assaulting an officer. Prosecutors aren't saying if any officers were actually injured in those incidents, but they say the fact that they were calling for violence and organizing violent confrontations easily could have led to that.
Now, this is where the conversation changes, because now we're no longer talking about slogans. We're talking about charges, evidence, indictments, actual legal accusations. One thing I've noticed over the years, a lot of people love the aesthetic of rebellion until paperwork shows up. Everybody wants to be a revolutionary until they meet a federal prosecutor. I don't trust y'all. But yeah, like I say, everybody want to be, the next activist, but today, the federal prosecutor shows up, then suddenly is, wait, hold on, hold up. And that's because reality is different from social media. Social media rewards attention. The legal system asks for explanations. Big difference. But keep watching.
Today, a federal indictment was unsealed, charging 15 defendants with conspiracy to impede or injure federal officers and other charges related to efforts of 2 Minneapolis-based Antifa groups that violently opposed the enforcement of federal law in our state. Such stalking and other direct actions against law enforcement are criminal, they're un-American, and they'll be met with swift justice. That's why we're here today. To those who choose to threaten or harm federal officers, we will hold you accountable. We will defend federal officers, we will protect the public, we will enforce the law.
Now we're seeing the consequence phase. And whether these defendants are ultimately convicted or not will be decided in court. Now, I think they need to be convicted, if you ask me. That's how it's supposed to work. But the bigger takeaway is this. The country is moving away from arguments about intent and back toward argument about conduct. Not what you meant, not what you felt, not what your cause was. What did you actually do? Because eventually every movement runs into that question. And when it does, slogans stop helping. Evidence starts mattering. Now, let's talk about the clip that really ties all of this together, though, y'all.
He meets his attorney in the hallway and walks towards Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan's courtroom. Along the way, he passes plainclothes federal agents who are sitting on a bench. They are there to detain him. After Flores Ruiz walks by, the agents turn to each other and appear to confirm his identity amongst themselves. But a few moments later, Judge Dugan and another judge approach the agents sitting on the bench. A criminal complaint against Dugan later said she was alerted to their presence by a court official. That complaint says during this interaction, Dugan and the agents disagreed over the type of warrant they had to arrest Flores Ruiz. According to the complaint, Dugan ordered the agents to go to the chief judge's office. Video shows her pointing them through a double door. She then turns back to speak with other agents further down the hall and orders them through the doors as well. Shortly after that, with the agents gone from the hallway, Eduardo Flores Ruiz and his attorney exit into the hallway through a different door. As they walk down the hall toward the elevators, they pass another plainclothes federal agent. Neither they nor Judge Dugan seem to have noticed at the time. That agent motions to another to follow Flores Ruiz. Security video shows Flores Ruiz exiting through a basement exit. Upstairs on the 6th floor, the other agents have left the chief judge's office and worked their way downstairs. Flores Ruiz left the building onto 9th Street. Videos of the street shows the agents catching up to him. Flores Ruiz runs across 10th Street while trying to get away, but the agents catch him and arrest him.
This right here is crazy. Y'all remember this, right? Just then, a federal judge has upheld the felony conviction against former Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan, who was found guilty of helping an illegal evade ICE agents at the courthouse. Dugan now faces up to 5 years in prison, disbarment, and steep fines. FAFO. You know, but this bigger than one judge, y'all. The public gives certain people enormous trust. Judges, police, politicians, federal agencies, you know, the media. The entire system depends on people believing those positions come with responsibility, not special privileges, responsibility. And when someone in those positions get convicted, the public reaction isn't really about that individual person, right? It's about whether people still believe accountability applies evenly, because the quickest way to destroy trust isn't making mistakes, right? It's convincing people some mistakes only matter when the wrong person makes them. And I think that's what you're seeing across all 6 clips. Different people, different situations, same underlying question. Do principles still matter when they become inconvenient? Because everybody believes in accountability, or you would hope so, right up until accountability knocks on their door. And that's where I think I'll leave this one, alone. Made it this far in the video. I want you to write standard. I just realized I had my hallway light on. I don't even remember turning it on. Y'all be safe. Oh, I'm going to tell you why. I want you to put standard I want you to drop it in the comments, not because it's flashy, not because it's viral, but because every function in society needs one standard that applies to everybody. And today's scripture is from Proverbs 21:15. When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers. Y'all be safe. Go check out somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.